It was a rainy Tuesday night, the kind where the streets looked like liquid glass, reflecting the distorted glow of street lamps and headlights. Everything felt wet, cold, and just slightly wrong, like the whole town was holding its breath. Ava had stayed late at the corner convenience store where she worked part-time. Inventory ran long, her coworker bailed on the shift. She had locked up after midnight, annoyed, tired, and alone. She opened her phone and saw the worst. The last bus home had already come and gone. 45 minutes of walking in icy rain was not an option. So she opened the Ride Now app she always used for emergencies. One nearby driver. Name? Marcus. Car? White sedan. License plate ending in 7U2. 5 stars. ETA 3 minutes. She hesitated for a second, but the photo of Marcus looked old. Not creepy, just outdated. Low resolution, slightly off-center. But everything else looked legit, so she tapped Confirm Ride. 3 minutes later, a white sedan pulled up to the curb. The sticker in the back window matched the company logo. The license plate matched. She opened the back door. "You, Ava?" the driver asked. "Yeah," she replied, climbing in and shaking rain off her umbrella. "Thanks for coming out so late." "No problem," he said. His voice was flat, emotionless, but polite. They pulled away from the curb. Ava leaned back into the seat, sighing of relief. The hum of the heater filled the silence. Rain lashed against the windows. For the first 5 minutes, they drove through familiar neighborhoods, the usual turns, the usual traffic lights. But then something changed. Ava noticed they were turning right onto Pine Road, a detour from her normal route home. She leaned forward. Sorry, this isn't the way, is it?" No response. "Marcus?" she asked. Still nothing. He kept driving, eyes locked on the road. She unlocked her phone and checked the Ride Now app. The trip was listed as in progress, but the map was blank. No route, no location, just a spinning icon where her position should be. Ava's stomach twisted. "Excuse me," she said, louder this time. "Can you take the regular route, please?" He finally spoke. "Shortcut. Less traffic." "But there isn't any traffic." Silence again. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. Ava's heart started to pound. She looked out the window. The streetlights were becoming sparse. Houses turned to wooded lots. They were leaving the town. Her neighborhood was in the opposite direction. "This doesn't make sense," she muttered, then reached for the door handle. Locked. She tried the other side. Also locked. She leaned forward, trying to stay calm. "Please stop the car. I want to get out." No reaction. She tried dialing 911. No service. She tried texting her roommate. Message failed. Ava's breathing became shallow. The car was moving deeper into some wooded area. Trees pressed close on both sides. Streetlights were gone. All that remained was the car's headlights cutting through the darkness. "Let me out!" she screamed again, now hammering her fists against the window. The driver didn't even flinch. He just kept going. A few minutes later, they turned onto a dirt road, more like a driveway, and pulled up to a house. It stood alone in a clearing, surrounded by trees that clawed at the sky like skeletal fingers. The house looked abandoned. 2 stories, paint peeling off the siding, windows dark. The porch light flickered, as if unsure whether to stay on or give up completely. The driver stopped the car. "I said, let me out," you yelled again, now hammering her fists against the window. He stepped out, slowly, shutting the door behind him. She looked at him through the window as he walked toward the front steps. Something about the way he moved. It was too smooth, too silent, like his feet didn't fully touch the ground. But he'd made a mistake. The keys were still in the ignition. Ava dove over the front seat, grabbing the steering wheel.
She twisted the key, the engine revved, but it was a stick shift, and she didn't know how to drive manual. The car bucked and stalled. "No, no, 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 no," she muttered, trying again. Nothing. She looked up. Marcus had turned around. He was coming back. Calmly, silently, that faint smile never leaving his lips. Ava didn't think, she acted. She snatched the keys, flung open the driver's side door, and bolted into the woods. The rain was still falling, cold needles against her face, but she barely felt it. The darkness swallowed her whole, trees whipping past, roots tripping her feet. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to get away from that house, from that man, from whatever this was. Behind her she could hear footsteps, slow, deliberate, boots crunching in the wet earth. She pushed harder. Her breath came in painful gasps, her legs screamed. She slid down a slope, half tumbled through a ditch and landed in mud at the base of a moss-covered tree. She didn't stop. She kept moving, scrambling upward, grabbing branches, slipping, rising again. Then she saw it. A dim light ahead. Not headlights. This was warmer. Electric. She stumbled into a gravel parking lot, nearly collapsing in front of an old 24-hour diner. The neon sign buzzed overhead, half burnt out. She burst through the door, soaking wet, disheveled, and screaming. "Help me, please! He's coming! Someone's following me!" The cook behind the counter dropped his spatula. A waitress looked up from her phone. A trucker near the window blinked slowly, unsure if this was real or some rain-soaked hallucination. Within seconds, the cook rushed over and caught Ava before she hit the floor. She was crying, gasping, trying to explain. The police were called. 2 patrol cars arrived 10 minutes later. Ava told them everything, every detail, from the moment she got in the car to the moment she ran. She gave them the name, Marcus, the license plate, the car model, the app, the route. They listened, took notes. Then one of the officers said something that made her skin go cold. "Are you sure it said Marcus?" "Yes, I remember. 5 stars, white sedan. His photo was kind of blurry." The officer looked at his partner, eyebrows raised. Marcus Henderson was a driver, 2 years ago. Same car description, same route. He was murdered while picking up a rider at that exact store. Ava blinked. "Wait, what?" "He was stabbed in his car and dumped in the woods. The killer was never found. The case went cold. But that house you described, it was searched during the investigation." She stared at them. "I was in the car. I saw him. His account was deactivated. The car was never found. There's no way he could have picked you up." Ava showed them the app, but the ride was gone. No record, no driver, as if she had never ordered it. Her last trip showed as 2 weeks ago. The police drove her back to the area, though she could no longer retrace her exact steps. The woods looked the same in every direction. Still, after hours of searching, they found the house. Just like she'd described. Boarded windows, rotting porch, that flickering light, but no car. Inside, they found no people, no body, but the basement, once pried open, held something else entirely. Stacks of phones. Dozens of them, old models, new models, chargers tangled, some still powered on, faintly glowing. Beside them, a wooden crate filled with car keys. Most were rusted. Some were still attached to plastic key tags with names and addresses. Ava's stomach turned. The sticker on the basement wall, half torn and faded, bore the exact same Ride Now logo. But there was no Marcus, no sedan, just silence. The police told her it could be a copycat or someone using an old account through a hacked version of the app. They promised to investigate, to keep her informed, but Ava never heard back. She quit her job the next day, moved out of town, changed her number, deleted every ride-sharing app, bought pepper spray, told herself it was just a sick person pretending to be someone else, maybe even an elaborate prank. But in the weeks that followed, it kept happening. Headlights would appear in the rearview mirror of her friend's car, a white sedan. Too far to see the plate. Always following, never passing. Once I saw the same driver photo from the app on a missing persons board, the photo that had been Marcus. But the name under it wasn't Marcus. It was Derek Watts, another Ride Now driver, missing for 4 months. One night, Ava got a call from a blocked number. She didn't answer. Voicemail. It was silent, except for the sound of windshield wipers and heavy breathing. Then a voice. Shortcut. Trust me. Click.
The night it happened, I wasn't thinking about death. I wasn't thinking about my grandmother. I was just trying to fall asleep. Headphones in, white noise playing, lights off. It had been a long day at work, and all I wanted was rest. I turned my phone to airplane mode, like I always do, to avoid midnight notifications. Then I closed my eyes. Sometime around 3:12 a.m., I remember because I checked the clock, my phone buzzed. That alone was strange. It shouldn't have buzzed. Airplane mode was on. I ignored it at first, probably a bug, but it buzzed again and again, 3 separate times. Half asleep and annoyed, I picked it up. The screen was black for a second, like it had restarted itself, then lit up with a single notification. One new voicemail. Not a missed call, just a voicemail. I swiped to open it. The number had no contact name, just 10 digits, US-based area code, but something about it felt familiar. I tapped play. The audio was poor quality, grainy and muffled, like it had been recorded on an old answering machine. There was static, faint crackling, and then a voice. My little fox. I froze. No one had called me that in years. Not since... Are you sleeping well? My blood ran cold. It was her voice. My grandmother. The one who had passed away 6 years ago. She used to call me Little Fox when I was a kid, said I reminded her of one, curious, quiet, always watching. The voicemail went on. I tried to reach you earlier, but you were busy. That's okay. I just wanted to check in. You looked tired yesterday. Silence. A beat. Then, you should really get more sleep. The message ended there. Timestamp, 3:12 a.m. I just stared at the screen. My hand shook. My heart thudded in my chest. She was dead. Cremated. Buried. There was no way this could be real. I replayed it. Again and again. Same voice, same crackle, same pet name. The way she spoke, the rhythm, the warmth, even the little sigh before the last line, it was all her. It had to be a prank. Someone using audio AI, maybe, deepfake tech. But who would go through that kind of effort? And how would they know the nickname? I tried calling the number back. It rang twice, then disconnected. No voicemail box, just silence. I checked the contact info, no details. It didn't appear in my recent calls, only in voicemail, like it had bypassed everything. I checked my call settings, still in airplane mode. I tried to record the message, but when I went to share it, it was gone. No saved voicemail, no history. It had vanished. But I remembered every word, every syllable. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, I called my mom. I didn't tell her everything, just asked if she still had any recordings of Grandma. She paused. Why do you ask? I just had a dream. I wanted to remember her voice. She was quiet for a moment. I might have something on an old camcorder, but she didn't leave many recordings. She hated technology. That was true. My grandmother barely used her landline. She hated phones, especially cell phones. She'd called them noise machines. It was almost funny hearing her voice on one now. Almost. Later that day, I pulled out an old box from my closet. I remembered something. A cassette tape she gave me when I was 10. A story she'd recorded for me. I found it, popped it into a cheap portable player, and hit play. Her voice flooded the room. Not exactly like the voicemail, but similar, softer, older, slower. Still her. She told a story about foxes who lived in the snow, who traveled in silence and spoke only in dreams. It was sweet, innocent, like something from another life. But something struck me. Near the end of the story, she said, "If you ever feel alone, just listen closely. I'll find a way to reach you." I paused the tape. Had I heard that before? That night, I kept my phone on. No airplane mode. I wanted to see if it would happen again. I wasn't sure what I wanted more. To get another message, or to prove I had imagined it. At 3:13 a.m., it buzzed again. One new voicemail. Same number, still no missed call, just the message. Hands trembling, I tapped play. "You're still not sleeping well." Silence. "Your eyes were open all night. I saw you." Static. Then something quieter, whispered so softly I had to hold the phone to my ear. "They won't let me rest if you keep looking for me." Click. I didn't move for almost an hour. The room was dead silent, but it felt like I wasn't alone. Like something else had entered when I hit play. Something cold, heavy, and old. I wanted to tell someone, anyone, but what could I say? "Hey, I'm getting voicemails from my dead grandmother." I could barely believe it myself. I tried calling the number again. This time, it didn't even ring. It just said, "This number is not in service." Then my phone froze. The screen glitched, static lines crawling over the glass like spider legs. I pulled the battery, restarted it. When it came back on, the voicemail was gone. Again. No trace, no record, no proof. That day, I went to the cemetery. I hadn't been there in over a year. Her headstone was still there, nothing disturbed. Still clean, still quiet. I stood in front of it for a long time, just listening. Hoping, maybe, I'd hear her voice again, not through my phone, but here, where she was supposed to be. Instead, I saw something that chilled me to the bone. Placed carefully at the foot of her grave, under a plastic bouquet, was a small audio cassette tape. No label, no case, just the cassette. It hadn't been there yesterday. I was sure of it. I took it home. I didn't even question whether or not to play it. I just did. There was no music, no introduction, just breathing. Soft, steady, rhythmic, like someone asleep. Then a voice. I remember the story about the foxes. It was her. Exactly her. I told you that so you'd remember to stay hidden, to be careful. They watch the ones who see too much. Another pause. Then you opened something when you called back. You shouldn't have called back. Something moved in the background. Not static. Real sound. A door creaking. Footsteps. I can't protect you anymore. The tape clicked. End of side A. Side B was different. Side B began with low humming. A melody I didn't recognize, but it felt familiar. Like something I'd heard in a dream I forgot. Then the humming stopped. Then came the voices. Not hers. Dozens of them. Whispering over each other. Layers of sound impossible to separate. Some were crying, others laughing. One voice repeated the same phrase. She answered. She answered. She answered.
Over and over. Then silence. Then a single word whispered like a breath on glass. Soon. And the tape ended. That night, I didn't sleep. I unplugged my phone, locked it in a drawer, buried the cassette at the bottom of a box. Still, around 3 a.m., the power flickered, the lights dimmed. The house creaked like it was breathing. I turned on every lamp, every screen, every speaker. I played music. I talked aloud. I begged for it to stop. Nothing came, but nothing left either. The next day, I got a letter. Not an email, not a text, a real letter. No return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper, folded once. Typed. You are not supposed to answer calls from the other side. You heard her. They won't let her rest now. Don't listen again. That was it. No signature. I moved 3 weeks later, threw out the phone, burned the cassette, changed my number, bought a new SIM, deleted every backup and account connected to the old one. I told myself it was over. But last night, it happened again. My new phone buzzed at 3:12 a.m. I hadn't installed voicemail. I hadn't signed in to the cloud. But there it was. One new voicemail. I didn't open it. I didn't listen. I just sat there, staring at the screen, until the sun came up. And now, the message is gone. But I know what it said. I can hear it, even now, in my mind. My little fox, why won't you answer?
When I first moved into the apartment, the landlord told me the unit below mine was vacant. "Been empty for over a year," he said, handing me the keys. "Old woman lived there before. Moved into assisted care. Quiet as a tomb down there now." I didn't think twice. I liked quiet. That's why I took the place. Top floor, corner unit, no neighbors on either side, and no one below. Perfect. At first, everything was normal. Until the footsteps started. They came around 2 or 3 in the morning. Slow, deliberate, as if someone were pacing directly beneath me. Back and forth, back and forth. I figured it was coming from the building next door or maybe someone in the hallway. These walls were thin. But one night I dropped a spoon on my floor, and almost instantly I heard 3 sharp knocks from below, not on the front door, from directly beneath my kitchen floor, like someone was knocking upward. I froze, waited. Nothing else came. The next morning I went downstairs to check. The door to the downstairs unit looked normal, dusty, paint-chipped, mail slots sealed shut with tape. I tried knocking. No answer. I tried the handle. Locked. As I turned to leave, I noticed something. The peephole. It had tape over it. From the inside. As if whoever was inside didn't want to see out, or didn't want anyone looking in. I asked the landlord the next day if someone had moved in. "Nope," he said. "Still vacant. We haven't rented it out." "Why?" "There's noise at night. Footsteps. Breathing." He sighed. "Look, I've been working this building for 20 years. Every tenant in that unit said the same thing." I froze. "What?" "They all swore it was haunted. Said someone lived under the floorboards or in the vents. Some even said they got notes slipped under the door." My voice dropped. "What happened to them?" "They all moved out. Every single one." After that call, I seriously considered leaving, but something in me refused. Maybe it was pride, maybe curiosity, maybe something worse. That night, I stayed up again. This time, I armed myself with a flashlight, a knife from the kitchen, and a roll of duct tape. I don't know what I was thinking. But when the footsteps started, I didn't just listen. I knocked hard, 4 times. Then I yelled, "If you're down there, say something!" Nothing. Then I heard movement, not footsteps, but shuffling, closer to the floor. Then a voice. "Why did you wake me up?" It was a child's voice, but wrong, like a recording played backwards and stitched together again. I grabbed my flashlight and ran downstairs, banged on the door. "Who's in there?" No answer. I pressed my ear to the door. Silence. Then, faintly, "Come down. Let me show you what I've made." I ran back upstairs. The next morning, I spoke to the tenant across the hall, a woman named Janine. She was in her 60s, always wore headphones, and usually avoided eye contact. But when I asked about the apartment below, she took off her headphones slowly. "You heard it, didn't you?" she said. My mouth dried. "You know about it?" Janine nodded. "Lived here 12 years. It starts slow. Footsteps, knocks, whispers. Then it gets inside your head. That apartment, it's a hole." "A hole?" "A gap between here and something else." I stared at her. She leaned in. "Whatever's down there, it's not human." I couldn't take it anymore. That night, I did something stupid. I broke into the apartment, picked the lock, which was so rusted it barely resisted, and slipped inside with a flashlight. The place was cold, unnaturally cold. Furniture was still there, old recliner, dusty table, a broken lamp, but everything was covered in thick plastic. Not dust cloths, plastic, like someone had wrapped the room for painting, then just never came back. There was a smell, wet, dirt, rust. I moved through the living room toward the back where I heard something, a faint scraping like nails on metal. I opened the bedroom door. It was empty, except for a square cut into the floorboards, a trapdoor, and it was open. I stepped closer. My flashlight barely pierced the darkness below. A staircase, wooden and narrow, led down into pitch black. Something moved at the bottom. I should have run. but instead I whispered, "Who are you?" And from the black, a voice replied, "You already know me. You made me." A hand reached up. Long fingers, gray skin, thin as bone. I slammed the door shut, kicked it closed, dragged an old dresser on top and ran. Back upstairs, locked my door, blocked it with furniture, didn't sleep, didn't breathe. The next morning, the landlord came to check on me. Said Janine had called him worried. I told him everything. The voice, the door, the hand. He looked tired, but not surprised. "I should have sealed that place up years ago," he muttered. "It doesn't matter who moves in, it always finds a way out." He handed me an envelope. Inside, a check, refund for 2 months' rent, and a note, "You should go before it follows you upstairs." I moved out that week. I've lived in 4 places since, all with neighbors, all noisy, but I prefer real neighbors to whatever was under me that night. But still, sometimes, when I'm in bed and everything is quiet, I swear I can hear it again. Faint footsteps, scratching, a whisper from beneath the floorboards. "You still hear me, don't you?"